don't plan to. So we've got a minute here. I'm coming on a couple of minutes early to check this microphone situation out. So if anybody's out there, we're not going to start for a minute or two. We're in here visiting a little bit. So let me know if you can hear. It's hearing. This light started blinking last time, and it didn't work at all. So I knew something was going on. So I took it. I just turned it off. But I had already charged it. Good morning, Chrissy can hear me. Good. Thank you, Chrissy. If you happen to stop, Chrissy, I may come and look over at this every once in a while. I'll be honest, I dropped this microphone. So I tried, I recharged it for, really well for this class, but I charged it for the last class too. So it might be that I made a big mistake and have to get another one. So, but I'm going to keep trying with this for now. And I will check over there if you stop hearing me in class, if you could type a quick, can't hear you anymore, let me know. That would be great. If not, it's not the end of the world. So, also, we still have a minute or so till 10:30, I think. But I'm going to demonstrate today, instead of sitting in the chair and using the chair, I'm going to try using blocks during this general class just to give people an idea who don't use the chair, what they can do with the blocks instead. You all in the chairs, just do, use the chair like you usually do, the people who are very used to using a chair. And if you're not used to using a chair, just pretend these blocks are a chair seat, because I'll do very similar with the blocks as I do in the chair. All right, so I have a few people on there. Nobody's saying they can't hear. So I'm assuming we're still being able to hear. So start to get comfortable and take your time. If you're in the studio, grab a blanket if you want to sit on. And if you're at home, same thing. If you want to sit up on a blanket, do. If you'd rather stretch your legs out long, do. Or maybe sit cross-legged, is good for your hips. But take your time. Start to settle into sitting however feels good. You might just be aware for a second of what leg, if you're cross-legged, what leg you naturally cross in front. Because everybody has a leg that they naturally want to put in front. And if you can, see if you can switch so that you're not sitting with the easier one in front at first here. Just to have a little change there. And then close your eyes and start to lengthen up through the crown of your head. Feel your shoulders release down away from your ears. And start to watch your breath coming in and going out. If you can, imagine that you're breathing equally in and out through both sides of your nose. And then see if you can bring your breath as you inhale into the belly, feeling the belly rise and expand as you inhale. And if you're comfortable, to come into the second part of that breath, inhaling into the belly and then into your ribs. And then when you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of the rib cage first and then your belly. And if you can come into that third part, inhaling into the belly, into your ribs, and then up into your chest gently. And when you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of the chest, and then the ribs, and then the belly. So the inhales start at the bottom and rise on upward. And the exhales just ride back down, starting at the top and then coming on back down. And on your next exhale, let your chin come down towards your chest. Release your head forward. Let the back of the neck release there. Have your hands wherever feels comfortable for you. And then on your next inhale, rise the head back up, looking forward again. And on the exhale, turn to look to your right. So you turn to keep your chin about parallel to the floor, just looking over towards the right. And now take a nice inhale here. And when you exhale, let the chin come down towards your shoulder. So you're coming into a little bit different release there, into the upper back, into your neck too. And on your next inhale, rise your head back up. And as you exhale, turn your face back to center. So you come on back into center. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, slowly turning to the left now. So bringing your chin, again, about parallel to the floor. Try not to let your right shoulder come around. Keep your shoulders square to the front of your mat there. And on your next exhale, lowering your chin down slowly so that you come into releasing through the neck, maybe into the upper back, maybe feeling it there to the right side between your shoulder blade and your spine. And then let your next inhale rise your head on back up, chin parallel to the floor. And on the exhale, we'll come on back into center again. And then from here, release your hands. Bring your hands behind you and let your right hand encircle your left wrist. And then start to come a little bit forward. Now, as you do, keep a long back. If you're on the floor with your feet, with your legs crossed, flex your feet. Press the outside edges of your feet into the mat a little bit. If you're on the floor, you can just press gently down. If you're in your chair, press gently down into your feet there. You can go as far as you want. If you want to lay your head all the way on the floor and that feels good, go for it. You know, really paying attention to how your back feels, almost like you're leading here with your chest. And one more breath here. And then press into the feet a little bit as you rise on up. And then from here, we're going to switch the cross of our legs. So take your time. Let your feet come on to the other leg in front, bringing your arms on out beside you here now. And now let's tilt our head to the right ear towards your right shoulder. And then just roll down laterally through your spine a little bit. Let your left hand then start to trail up by your ribs in front of your shoulder and by your ear, and then stretch into that long side stretch there, breathing into that left side of the body. Be easy. Let your head do what it wants. You know, if your neck bothers you, try turning your head a little bit one way or the other so you find some release. And now we'll rise on back up. Use your belly to help you get on back up to the top. And then we'll tilt our left ear towards our left shoulder. And again, you're going to kind of roll a little bit laterally. You know, it's up to you how far you go with that. Let the right hand start to trail up by your ribs, in front of your shoulder, by your ear. Reach into that long arm, breathing into that right side of the body here now. One more breath here. And then we're going to rise up. Let your belly help you come all the way back up to the top. Bring your hands behind you. Let your left hand encircle your right wrist, and then start to ease your way a little bit forward here. So flex the feet if you're cross-legged. Feel the outside edges of the feet into the floor. Again, you may decide you want to lay way over your legs, right? If that feels okay in your back, even to let your head release forward, that's fine. And if you feel better, you know that, to stay up higher. Don't force anything in your back here. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll press into the feet a little bit as we come up, releasing our hands out beside us here. And we're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse the arms. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. Good. We're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. So, you know, if you'd rather have a blanket underneath your knees, grab one. You know, you want to be really mindful there about getting either hands on the chair or on the floor. I'm hoping everybody's sound is still good. Somebody said good. Thank you. So keep me posted. I'll keep checking. So take your time. Hands spread nice and wide. If it doesn't bother your wrist, you can be on your hands flat, or you can be on fist if your wrists bother you. Spread your fingers if their hands are down. Get your pointer fingers about parallel to each other. Let your inner elbows turn to face each other. And then just start to flow through your cat-cows, really letting your tailbone initiate as you move through your spine. Let it feel very easy and natural. In other words, if you want to stay in cat or cow because it feels good, or you can continuously flow through with your breath. And really, don't obsess about how you're breathing. It doesn't really matter if you alternate when you inhale or exhale. Just enjoy, imagine the breath is what's moving you through your spine. And then we'll finish off the one we're on. We're going to come to a more neutral spine here. And now, if you're on the floor, send your right foot behind you. Curl the toes under. The leg is long. Same thing in the chair, but just make it a little mini lunge. And let yourself open up here through the calf. Engage your belly a little bit. Feel equal through your hands. Those of you on the floor might even want to try floating that left knee a little off the floor. And then we'll come on down. We're going to switch and send the left foot back again. If you're in the chair, just make it a little mini lunge. You can keep the heel on the floor even if you want to. You're really getting into the calf. Those of you on the floor, if you feel like you want to press into your hands, lift that right knee up a little bit, you can. And then we'll come on back down. And we're going to make our way into lunges from here. So bringing your left foot forward, stepping forward with your left foot and back with your right, and coming into whatever height you want to be. So if you have blocks, you'll have three heights, right? You'll have the highest one, the middle one, the lowest one. If you're in the chair, you can use the seat of the chair or the back of the chair. Let yourself look back at your right foot briefly. Make sure you're not tending to put that heel inward. Send the heel directly behind your foot. And draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Find that length through the back body. Imagine letting the back of your head come into line with your spine, so you're not lifting your chin up. Good. We're going to switch legs. It doesn't matter how you switch, right? You can put knees down if you need to. You can step backward or forward. Draw your shoulders down again. Feel that length in the back body, bringing the head in line with the spine. If you can, imagine in this lunge that you're letting your heart melt just a little bit down towards the floor, which will keep you from tending to tense up and round up into that upper back. Let your heart melt down a little bit. Good, and we're going to step forward and come into standing forward bend here. Feet, hips distance apart and parallel. You're welcome to use whatever support you need underneath your hands, blocks, with a chair. You can put your elbows above your knees if that feels even better support for you. If you're fine to go ahead and let yourself release crown of the head towards the floor, do. Knees can be bent. You have your sit bones right over your heels. And then come into watching your breaths here. Easy, full, deep breaths. Maybe let your head move around a little bit, especially if you feel like you can't quite let that release happen in your jaw or your face, so that you're aware of feeling that weight of your head. Breathing equally in and out through both sides of your nose, using that idea of feeling very equal between the right and the left nostril when you breathe. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips, and we're going to bend our knees and press into our feet and rise on up to standing. Inhaling the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bringing our hands down together in front of our hearts. So if you need to look at your feet and adjust to come into your mountain pose, right? Feeling really equal weight between your feet. Feet are pretty parallel. I mean, a lot of people like to bring their feet totally together. That's fine. I like the feet hips distance apart. So let yourself shift forward a little bit to the balls of the feet, back to your heels. Not so much you fall over. Doesn't take very much, right? But just until you feel that sense of that place right in the center where it feels really equally distributed between the front and the back of the feet. Bringing your gaze on forward and out as though you're looking at the horizon, whether your eyes are opened or closed. A sense of space between your ears and your shoulders. And imagine just for a couple of breaths that you're being held up by the air around you. So it's very easy to find that quiet strength of simply standing in your mountain pose. We're going to unfold our arms on down beside us here now. Inhale the arms up into a wide V. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Feel your shoulders releasing down. Spread your fingers nice and wide here. Feel the feet in the floor. If it feels good to look up when you inhale, do. And on the exhale, we'll bend the knees. Come forward into your standing forward bend. Use whatever you need under your hands. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. Hands can be on your blocks or on your legs here anywhere or on the floor. And we're going to step the right foot back and come into lunge, coming into our first sun salutation. Draw your shoulders down. Feel the feet pressing away from each other. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time. If your hands are on the blocks, they can be any height. You're letting yourself, if your hands are up higher, have your heels on the floor. Find that length of your spine. If you go lower down to the blocks, you may decide you want to step back, go a little closer towards an upside down V. And if your hands are on the floor, you might be totally in that upside down V with your heels hovering off the floor. And on your next inhale, come on out towards a plank. It doesn't matter how far you go. Take your time. You can put your knees down. You can come to your forearms if you don't want to be up on your hands and your wrists there. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Walk in your dog a little bit. Bend one knee at a time. See if you can not rush it. Let it be a slow walk. And then we're going to step our right foot forward to come into lunge. Does not matter how you get there. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend. Again, whatever support you need. If you like to hold your elbows, you can. If it feels better to put your elbows above your knees and support yourself, do. And then come into those breaths again. Easy, full, deep breaths. See if you can let your breaths even out a little bit. This amount of time you spend in inhales and exhales coming pretty close to the same length. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees, rise on up, and inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms, bring our hands behind us, clasp your hands together there, and for a second, really squeeze your palms towards each other. Elbows are bent. Your hands can just rest wherever they come to back there on your tailbone or wherever they come, and really feel your biceps here. Feel all the way up through your arms into your shoulders. And then let the palms come apart and the hands relax a little here. Inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to bend the knees and come forward. Now, it's up to you. You don't have to go far. You can go just a little bit. You can stay parallel to the floor. So you're sending your tailbone back. You have a tabletop back. Or you can fold all the way over your legs if you want to. Whether your shoulders allow the arms to come off your back is up to you. So if your shoulders feel good to do that, it feels really good to release the arms off the back a little bit, do. And then we'll release the hands on down. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back, wherever you want your hands to be. And we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose again. Good. Spread the fingers wide. Feel your elbows hugging a little bit towards each other so you feel that action up into your shoulders. Let your next inhale bring you out to your plank. Nice and strong. You can bend your elbows if you want. Come a little bit down. Totally up to you. Do a little push-up or not. And we're going to come on back into down dog. Reaching back through your sit bones equally. Nice long spine. And this time we'll bring the left foot forward to come into lunge. Again, using whatever support you need. Blocks, chair. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. Feet parallel. Let yourself release into your breath. And let your hands, if you can, come for a second onto your calves, right? So hands come behind your legs there. Let yourself be really easy, mindful of feeling your head release and let go through your face and your jaw. One more breath. And then we'll press into our feet as we bend our knees. We're going to rise on up and inhale the arms up overhead. Right away, we're going to come forward. Exhale as you fold forward into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that flat back. Again, you can use the blocks, whatever feels good. And we'll come into down dog from here. So if you want to use blocks under your hands, or you want to use your chair, or you want to use the floor, walk into your downward facing dog pose. Feel your elbows hug towards each other. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards the plank. Back bends are totally optional here. You know, if you're up on the blocks and you want to let your pelvis come down a little bit, come through with your chest towards an up dog, you can. Not necessary. If you're on the floor, you may decide you want to come down and be on your forearms and do a little Sphinx pose or even a little cobra pose with your hands on the floor. And then we're going to come on back into downward facing dog pose from here. So take your time. Be mindful there. Walk if you need to. Good. And on the next inhale, we're going to do that same thing. Come on out to that plank. Again, it is totally optional to do any kind of back bend. You can come to the floor. You can let yourself just sink a little bit there with the pelvis, using the belly, elbows hugging in. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. Good. Let's bring our left foot forward and come into lunge. Press the feet away from each other. Draw your shoulders down. Good. And now from here, we're going to add a twist. So keeping your right hand grounded, bring your left hand onto your left hip and roll that shoulder up. If you can put your palm down onto your low back there, roll your shoulder up a little bit. Don't do it if it bothers your shoulder. And then stretch the arm up if you can, straight up from your shoulder. Palm facing out away from you. And then we'll bring the hand on back down to the back. And then we're going to look down at the floor, bring our hand down, find our lunge again. But from here, we're going to come into pyramid, straightening the front leg out, lowering the back right heel to the floor. It comes inward a little bit. So pyramid pose, both legs are straight. Back right foot is turned in slightly. Let your thighs lift upward. So you don't want to feel like, you want to be using your muscles, right? You want to be feeling like you're trying to create space in your knees. Lengthen out through the spine. Now, whatever height you want for your hands, shift your weight to your right hand there. Bring your left hand to your left hip. We're going to do that same twist we did, but now both legs are straight. Coming into Revolved Triangle. So lengthen out through the top of your head. Good. One more breath. And then come on back down with your hand. Let yourself take your time there. If you want to fold over your leg now, do it. If it feels good to bow over that leg, you can. And then we're going to come on back up, bend the front knee, come back to your lunge. And we're going to switch legs for the lunge. So however you choose to do that, bringing the right foot forward. Finding your lunge, being really solid here. Remember, we're going to add a twist. So Planting your left hand, whatever height you want to be, right hand to your right hip, rolling that shoulder up, keeping your hand down here on your low back, and you don't have to stretch it up unless you choose. If you do want to add the arm, it comes straight on up from your shoulder, palm faces outward. Lengthen out through the crown of your head and back through that inner heel. And then bring your hand on back down to your back or your hip. And then we're going to turn to face the floor and find lunge again here. But remember, we're coming into pyramid. So you might have to get that back foot on the floor, bring it in a little bit, not be in such a long stance, right? Lengthen out through the spine. Feel your thighs engaging upward, using all the muscles around your knees. Both legs are straight. And you can get up higher. I mean, that sometimes helps. Or you can shorten your stance if it feels better to have a shorter stance. Good. Take your time. We're going to add that twist, remember. Left hand stays grounded. Right hand comes up to your right hip. You can bring the hand again, just right there to the sacrum, to the low back. Feel the thighs engaging upward. Feel that right foot on the floor. Make sure you're not rolling to the outside of it. Pretty easy to do that. Good. One more breath. And then come on back down again with your hand. Now, if you want to bow over that front leg now, you can. Not necessary. If that hurts, don't do it. Or if it just feels like too much, right? Good. One more breath. And then come on back. Bend the front knee. Step forward. Come on into standing forward bend with your feet right underneath you. And then from here, we'll bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise on up. We're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And now let your arms stretch straight out into a T position, right? Let your palms face down. Reach out through your fingertips. And then bring your left arm on top of your right. Give yourself a hug here. Let your elbows melt down. Let your head tilt a little bit, one side to another at your own time there. And then come on back. If you want to add into half eagle or eagle wrap, you can or not. You can slide the back of your right hand to the outside of your left elbow. Or you can send the backs of your hands towards each other. Maybe even putting your right fingers on that left palm and twisting the thumbs to the midline. That's all optional, right? Now see if you can bend your knees a little bit like you're going into a little chair pose. You can go deeper. If it feels good to go deeper, go deeper. Wade a little more into your heels. And then we're going to rise on up. We're going to undo our arms beside us again. Inhale them straight out into that T position. And then we'll bring the right arm on top of the left. And give yourself a hug however you want, wherever you want your hands to be. And then again, let your head tilt a little bit, roll maybe. Just let it feel good. Let it feel really released. Opening up there between the shoulder blades on your back. And then come back to center. You can stay hugging. You can go to the half wrap. So the back of the left hand to the outside of your right elbow. Pressing gently into the hand, the elbow, and the hand pressing into each other. Or you can do your full wrap. So the left hand ends up there on the right palm and then thumbs to the midline. And then again, shift back a little bit. Sit back in a little chair. Let it feel really easy. So there are your shoulders, there are your hips. Press down equally into your feet. And then we'll rise on back up. Release our arms on down beside us. And then shake your hands out a little bit. Move around through your feet and your ankles too. Shake everything out. And you may want to turn your chair the other way if you're using a chair. We're going to come into Warrior 2 this time. Have your blocks handy. We'll step our right foot back. And line up our heels. And let ourselves get really easy here. Bending into that front knee. Feel the knee coming out over the center of your foot. And then just let your hands come to your heart here. Feel really easy here. Feeling very balanced between your feet, your legs, your hips, and then your hands into your arms and your shoulders. And then we'll inhale the hands right up through the midline, right on up overhead, and then open the arms and let them come on into that Warrior 2 stance. So bringing your gaze right out over the top of your left hand. Feel your shoulders soften down as you reach out through your fingertips. Good. We're going to turn the left palm up. We're going to inhale, reach up towards the sky with that left hand. Let yourself breathe into the left ribs. And on your next exhale, come on into your side angle. So your left hand or forearm can go onto your thigh or onto your chair. Adding this top arm in line is optional, or keeping the right hand on the hip. If you have the arm up there, let the pinky turn down towards the floor a little bit, which brings the shoulder down away from your ear. And then we'll come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet gently away from each other. And then bringing our hands to our hips. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. We're coming for a wide-legged forward bend. You might want to grab blocks. That's up to you. Let your hands be out in front of you so that your back is kind of lengthened, and then bend a knee at a time. So take your time to let yourself just go from side to side at your own pace so that it feels really easy and good to your inner thighs. Good. And then come on back into center. And now don't walk towards your right foot, but walk towards the right away from you a bit. So you're lengthened out. And stay there, whether you're on blocks or the floor, it doesn't matter. Keep your legs equal if you can. And then come back to center. And stay, again, out and away. Don't walk towards your foot. Be out as you go to the left. And let yourself just enjoy. Good. Feet equal in the floor. Come on back into center. And then take your time. Set up however you want to be for releasing into this pose. So if you need support of blocks underneath your forearms or your hands or your head, feeling the feet in the floor, imagine your inner thighs are releasing their way behind you. And then just watch. Be with your breath fully, deeply, all the way in, all the way out. Feel your face softening, releasing through your jaw. You can always move your mouth around a little bit if you feel really tight in your jaw, your throat. One more breath. And we're going to rise back up. Now you can bend your knees. You can bring your feet closer together. You know that. You take your time when you rise on up. And then bring your feet together however you want. You can jump or walk your feet together. We are going to go to the other side. So stepping our right foot forward. So Warrior Two on the other side, lining the heels up. Look at that right foot. Make sure it's about parallel to the long edge of your mat. That back foot's about parallel to the back edge, but the heel can go back further if your ankle feels okay doing that, and your knee, right? So feel really good there. Bring your hands to your heart here. Really feel that equality now, that balance. Even though one knee is bent, the other one's straighter. Feel equal up into your hips. Feel your arms all the way into your shoulders. And on the next inhale, we'll rise the hands up through the midline. And then open the arms on out. Turn the palms down as you start to turn to look out over the top of your right hand. Press the feet gently away from each other. Feel your shoulders soft, but you're reaching out through your fingertips. Good. Feet equal in the floor. We're going to turn the right palm up. Put your left hand down on your leg and let yourself reach up, either towards straight up or even a little behind if you want. You've got the support of that left hand back there. One more breath into the right ribs. And on the exhale, we'll come into that side angle. So it can be your right hand or your forearm on your thigh. Adding, if you choose, that left arm up, right, into line. Not necessary to add the arm. Keeping the hand right on down onto your hip is fine. Be mindful of your shoulders. Sometimes bringing the arm straight up feels better in people's shoulders. You can do that. So you find some mobility there in your shoulder. And then we're going to come on back into Warrior Two, pressing the feet gently away from each other as we come. And we're going to bring our hands down, and we're going to turn again for this wide-legged forward bend. So bend your knees, make your way forward. Again, if you like your blocks, bring your blocks in front of you. And bend your knee one at a time again. Let yourself easily come from side to side. And then take your time. Get your feet just where you know you don't feel stress. You can let yourself feel, obviously you have to be supporting yourself. You're standing up, so you're using your legs. But you don't want to feel effort and stress. And then see what you can do to totally release in your upper body. Whether that's using support under your hands or your forearms. Or some of you might want to hold on to your ankles or your tops of your feet. Or bring your hands between your feet. But wherever you can be, where you can really let go now. Through the upper half of the body. And then feel the ribs expanding as you inhale. Evening out your inhales and exhales. Softening through your face. Nice. One more full deep breath. And now take your time as you start to come up. And you know that. Move your feet closer if you need to. Whatever helps you come up the easiest, do it. And then bring your feet on together. Move around a little bit. Walk around through your feet. We're going to come to the wall if we're in the classroom here. And if you're not in the studio, you're at home. If you can find a wall, it would be great. We're going to do a little half moon work today. So you'll need a block or something equivalent at home. A chair seat's fine too. And if you have a wall behind you, then you can know you're not going to fall over, right? But it also helps with your alignment. So get the block in your left hand, all right? And let's put the block right there, pretty close to the wall. For most of us, maybe, 4 to 6 inches, right? Catherine, I think you have room. If not, I think you are too. You could use the wall over there behind Donna. But okay, so putting your weight onto your hand there, and you're standing on your left foot, we're going to rise our right leg up. And let yourself look at your left foot. You want it to be about parallel to the wall. Your left hip, your butt cheek is touching the wall, right? And then see if you can just get really comfortable with that left hand right under your shoulder. So you don't want it too far out in front of you. You don't want it too far back by your foot. You want to feel it there where you can put some weight on it. And then the top foot is flexed. Think of the toes turning down just a little bit. You're coming into straighter legs. You can stretch this top arm straight up from your shoulder if you want in half moon. And if you feel like you need to use the wall a little more, even with your shoulder on the wall, do it, right? So you've got that foot, that heel, that right heel directly behind your sit bone. Open up here. Let the wall help you. Enjoy feeling space in your spine. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come on up. Take your time as you come on up. And we're going to switch and go to the other side. So it'll be the right hand that comes down to the block, highest level, or using whatever else you have, right? And then putting your hand on the block right under your shoulder. Remember, get that right foot about parallel to the wall. Come into a straighter right leg if you can. If that leg it doesn't want to straighten out all the way, I totally understand. Do what you can. And then it's kind of like just flat, bug on a windshield is what this feels like, right? It's just that idea of being able to just open up the whole body right here. Finding that length through the spine. You can look down. If your neck bothers you, look down. You can look out. Or some of you might even want to turn to look up towards your hand when you have the wall to support you. This is a balancing pose that can be done in the middle of the room. So it's a lot easier to turn your head when you got the wall behind you, that's for sure. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly make our way up. Take your time when you come up. Got to use your belly a little bit to do that. Good. And let your feet just walk out a little bit here. have your back to the wall and bend your knees a little bit, like you're coming out into a chair with a back that the wall behind you is the back of the chair, right? And then turn your palms out away from you. Feel your legs working there. Let yourself feel what happens when you turn your palms forward to your shoulder blades, right? The tips of the bottoms of the shoulder blades kind of come around the sides of the body. If you press your backs of your hands or backs of your wrists gently into the wall, you'll feel even more, a little bit of engagement there. And it is up to you. You can come forward here or not. You can put your hands or your elbows above your knees. If it feels really good to go down to elbows, do it. If it doesn't, don't do it. Some of you might want to fold over your legs, right? So if that feels good, you can go ahead. You can even straighten your legs up and fold forward over your legs if that's a relief, right? If it's not a relief, don't do it. If it feels good and it feels like you're bringing relief to your back, your hips, you're totally supported there by the wall. One more breath. And then we'll bend our knees. We're going to press on back up, back all the way on up to the wall, and then walk your feet in. Take your time here. And we are going to come down onto our bellies on the floor. So, come on down. Come all the way down to your stomach here. Rest your forehead for a second on your hands. Unless that's uncomfortable for you, right? But if you can, rest your forehead on your hands that are stacked up, right? And if that feels awkward in your neck, don't do it. Put your head on the floor if you'd rather, right? Your forehead. So let it feel good. Release there. Breathe into your low back. So see if you can let your legs relax. Feel the breath coming in to rise and expand your low back. And now, take your hands out from under your head. Bring them back alongside you. Turn your palms down towards the floor. Let the hands be on the floor, not on your mat. So they're out just a little bit off your mat. And then come onto your fingertips. You've got your tips of your fingers on. The palms are off the floor. And then when you inhale, let your head just lift up. So now your forehead's off the floor. Add your legs if you can. Let yourself feel the chest maybe rise a little higher. And then see if you can let your fingertips float up and reach back behind yourself in your locust pose with your fingertips reaching back behind you. One more breath, kind of shallow breaths in this pose. And then we'll come down and we're going to stretch our right arm overhead and roll onto our right side. Now, as you come here, kind of look down at your feet. Make sure you've got your feet right. You don't want to be like a banana. You don't want your legs behind you where your belly's hanging out. It's okay for them to be maybe a tiny bit forward, but your endeavor to get them right underneath, standing up. And then take your time here. Let your left hand stay on the floor for a second. Lift that top left leg just about a foot, 12 inches or so up, and then let it come down a couple of times. So just activating, you're in parallel with your feet. So just lift and lower a couple of times. Use your belly. See if you can release your left hand to your hip to do that. And then finish off back where feet are parallel. And now you might want to put your left hand back on the floor. We're going to bring our left foot onto the inside of that right leg somewhere. Maybe onto your calf below your knee. Maybe up higher, right? You're not pushing down into the leg. Flex your right foot, though, and press into the outside edge of your right pinky toe down on the floor. It's like a lying down tree pose, right? And you can stay right here. You can keep your hand on the floor if you need in front of you. You might even want to stretch your arms up overhead. If you feel good to do that, you can stretch your arms up. Or you can keep your left hand down on your hip. Let it feel good. Let your hip just naturally open up. You're trying to keep your hips square to that long edge of your mat there. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to lower the leg down and let ourselves come on back to our belly. So release back onto your belly. Once you get to your belly, come into Sphinx Pose. Let yourself be on your forearms with your elbows right under your shoulders and spread your fingers nice and wide. And see if you can, you're engaging the belly, but try not to tighten up your buttocks a lot, right? So think about engaging your belly at the same time letting yourself release a little bit in the buttocks, in the hips. One more breath. And then we're going to release down and we're going to roll to the other side. So as you stretch your left arm up, coming onto your side, take your time, get your feet parallel. So think about getting the feet right underneath you, right? So you're like a long line here. And then flex both the feet. Feel the outside edge of that right foot into the mat. Now you can put your hand on your hip to do these leg lifts, or you can keep your right hand on the floor. So lift and lower that top leg. And let it be slow. This is not about height, or it's more about using the core of your body, using your belly and your low back. And just letting yourself easily lift and lower that leg. So do 2 more lifts and lowers. And then from here, we'll come into that like recline tree, where you bring the foot. Right foot comes in, either to the inside of the calf or inside the thigh. Think about, again, your hips are staying level. You can keep your hand on the floor. You can stretch your arms overhead if you choose, if that feels good. You can even interlace your fingers and send your pointer finger out if you like that mudra of your hands there. And just enjoy. Again, it's that gentle pressing into the outside edge of your left foot there. Right there around your pinky toe or the ball of the foot. That helps you stay more stable. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to stretch the leg back long again. We're going to roll back to our bellies again. And come back to your forearms, back to that Sphinx pose. And then interlace your fingers, clasp your hands, send your pinky finger out. Now you can come up into a half forearm plank with your knees on the floor. You're on the flesh above your knees. Or you can put your toes down and come on up into a full. That's up to you. Feel your belly engaging. Take your time here now. Feel the breath. Watch your breath all the way in and out. And even maybe be aware of feeling your heart beating. And then we'll come on down all the way to the floor. Release your arms back down alongside you. Turn your palms down. Come to the fingertips. And then float your head and your legs up. Let your elbows bend a little bit. You still have fingertips and thumbs on the floor there. Your palms are not on the floor. And then just float your hands up too. Finding your locust pose again. Reaching back through the fingertips and the toes. Remember, it's not about height. You can be barely off the floor and be increasing the strength there in your back. And we're going to come on down, and we're going to release back towards child's pose. Now, all of you know, big toes together, knees apart. Do not force yourself into child's pose. If it feels great to release your hips towards your heels all the way, it's fine if it's a relief, right? You can keep arms overhead. You can bring your arms back alongside you with the palms up. Remember, you can stay forward. If it's better, stay forward on your forearms. Do it. And then breathe into the low back. Full deep breaths. See if you can find the little spaces between your breaths. So feel that little space at the end of your inhale before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhale, that little space or pause before you inhale. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands back by our knees. We're going to come on up around to sitting. So take your time. Stretch your legs on out in front of you. Let your hands come back behind you for a second. And just be real easy. Move through your feet and your ankles a little bit. Circle them. And you can do little windshield wiper blades either way. In and out or back and forth. Right? You can do little leg bounces too if it feels good. And we're going to do a little twist here. So let's keep our left leg long and bring our right foot to the inside of that leg somewhere. It can be up high, up above your knee. If you're going to sit like this to bring the foot above the knee, don't do it. Let yourself find that length through your spine. It's better to keep the foot low. And now these toes of the left foot are reaching straight up. One more inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist towards this bent leg. Bring your right hand behind you. Left hand can stay on the knee. You can bring the arm over across if you want towards the outside of the leg. Try not to lean back into this back hand if you can. Imagine that you're supported by your spine here. The twist is in the middle of your back. It's a lot harder than it seems. So take your time. You can look right to the wall. You can look behind yourself. It's fine just to keep your hand here on your knee. So you don't want to add pressure into your shoulder. It's only if it feels like a relief to your shoulder to bring the arm over. One more breath. And then slowly start to use your belly to come on back. Now, if you can, kind of draw yourself towards that front thigh a little bit. Okay? And that might be enough, like an inch. Don't force anything. If anybody wants to go deeper, you can pull your foot up to your inner thigh there and then shift your weight so your right sit bone comes off the floor and come a little farther forward here. But this is really deep in the hip. Don't do it if it doesn't feel good. I mean, some of you, it might feel like a real big relief in your hip. You still want to keep the knee drawing in towards your shoulder if you come forward like that. One more breath. And then we're going to ease our way back up. We're going to switch legs. So the right leg comes long, the left leg comes in. Again, below or above the knee, but you want to try to sit up nice and tall. So feel your sit bones, feel like you have that string coming through your spinal column and being pulled out the top of your head. Inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to twist. Bringing the left hand behind us, coming on around. And again, hand can stay right there on the shin or the knee. You're more than welcome, if it feels good to your shoulder, to bring the arm over. If that feels like, oh, it makes you go, oh, then do it. If it makes you go, oh, don't do it. So just enjoy finding that twist in the middle of the back. Feel your sits bones drawing down, lengthening up through the top of your head. One more inhale. And then on the exhale, use your belly to come on back to center. Now again, you can just imagine, even if it's just imagining coming a little forward. Don't force anything, especially if you have anything going on in your back, right? And if you feel like you want to pull your foot up higher and bring your arm now so that it comes around, and you can even reach out for your toe here, right? You try to keep this knee, though, from flailing outward. Try to keep the knee drawing in towards you. And again, this is really deep in the hip, in the back. Don't do it. It feels like too much. Don't do it. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly come up, and we're going to bring the soles of our feet together into a little Baddha Konasana here now. So we're all different for this pose too. So you may want to bring your feet in close to you, have no problem sitting up because you're really built in your hips where it's, it feels almost effortless to do that. Some of us, it's better to bring the feet out more so that we can sit up tall and not feel constricted in the hips. So you don't want to feel tightness. You're trying to let the hips naturally open up just from sitting in the pose. Imagine the knees are just reaching away from the midline. You can use your hands behind you like this if you need to help you sit up tall. And some of you may want to come forward and some of you may not, right? If it feels good and releasing to let yourself ease your way forward, do. If not, stay upright and breathe. Come right back to your breath. Again, imagining those knees are just reaching gently away from each other. So you're lengthening your inner thighs. And then we're going to slowly walk ourselves up if we're forward. You can use your hands to bring your knees up if you want to help you stretch your legs on out, shake it out. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. So before you go down, have a block handy, or at home if you're using a book, use a book. And we'll come on down and bring our feet to the floor. Let yourself do a couple little pelvic tilts so that as you exhale, you let the tailbone curl up. You imagine being really equal through your feet there. Let it be small and deep, so you're not trying to lift your hips off the floor, all right? You're really just focusing on that tailbone curling up when you exhale and the low back coming into the floor. And then when you inhale, you let it come back down, just gently. Should feel relieving. And then finish off. Come back to more neutral spine. Bring your knees on in towards your chest for a second. Let yourself release side to side there. You can have the knees as far apart as you want. Just let your back feel good in your hips. And then come on down with the feet and see if you can. Now, if being up on a block is too much for you, you can also just put a little bit of a blanket under your low back. If you're okay to come into supported bridge with the block to the lowest height, right there on that flat part, your sacrum. So you're not hanging your bottom off the block, right? You don't want your ribs to hyperextend. You want to be supported here by the block so that it feels pretty easy to be here in your bridge, supported. And just bring your elbows in pretty close to you. You can put your hands wherever you want. You can rest them like on your hip pointer bones there. You can stretch your arms out. Doesn't matter. But we're going to bring the right knee thigh in towards us here, and then we're going to stretch that leg up. And then we're going to do the same thing with the left one, bringing the thigh in towards us and stretch both legs up in the air here. Now, once you get the legs up, they can be bent. It's fine. Send your tailbone down just a little bit, so you're not, again, you don't want to hyperextend into the ribs, but you don't want to curl the tailbone up like we did when we did those pelvic tilts. The tailbone's kind of reaching down a little bit. And now use your belly and start to lower one leg down towards the ground. It doesn't have to go far. You want to stay really solid in your pelvis, and then when you inhale, bring that leg back up. So this can be done straight legs, or your knees can be bent. So letting yourself keep alternating legs. And when you exhale, lower the leg down as much as you can without feeling like you've let go of your belly and your back, and then you inhale it back up. So go at your own pace. And sometimes it's fun to let the leg come down as far as you can and then stay there for a second. So you breathe a couple of breaths there. And then come back up. Not necessarily fun, though. If it's not good for you, don't do it. I mean, if you want to do both legs, go for it. More power to you. So if it feels good to you to bring both legs down a little bit at the same time and then back up, do it. That means usually maybe not going as far. And then next time you get both legs back up, let's let them come wide a little bit just to open the inner thighs a little bit here. And you might want to put your hands on the outside of your legs to give them some support. Knees can be bent, remember, or knees can be straighter. And just take your time. Let it feel good in your hips and your inner thighs. And then bring the legs on back up in the air. Bend your knees so the thighs come in again towards your chest. Put one foot at a time back down onto the floor. Now, you can lift up off this block if you want to come into a higher bridge, or you can stay supported, or you can take the block out altogether if you'd rather. So play for a little bit in your own bridge pose. Make sure feet are a little bit wider than in mountain. Parallel. Feet are parallel. You're more than welcome to come down anytime you choose. Oh, good. Just be thinking about your toes facing forward. You can lift up and down off the block, or you can stay supported and enjoy that. Letting the low back release. Good. So take your time. Come on down when you're ready. And be easy if you were up on that block, okay? Bring your knees on in towards your chest. If you feel like doing a happy baby pose from there, you can. You can send your feet up and let your knees slide on down towards the outside of the ribs. You may decide you'd rather come back into that Baddha Konasana that we did seated, soles of the feet together. So if that feels good, do it. Bound angle is what that pose translates to mean. And, just be mindful. Let yourself pay attention to what your own body wants to do right now. And it's different for every person, right? If you feel like moving around a little bit more, do. If you feel like doing another yoga pose of any kind, let yourself do that. Those of you in the studio, I'm going to start getting the lights. And so if it starts to get dark there on screen, and I'm going to say again, for people online, I don't know if my mic will last through Shavasana, so if we do not come back at the end of Shavasana, doesn't mean I forgot you. It means that my microphone is not working anymore. So I do encourage, if you can, to stay as long as you want in Shavasana. Okay? Ideally, I would say 15 to 20 minutes would be like heaven. And that's not true for everybody, though, is it? So I'm going to start to walk around the studio to bring bolsters for those of you who I think might need one. Welcome. So take your time to get comfortable, being easy about where you have your arms and your legs. And you may even, like to let your head turn a little bit from side to side. So if that feels good, you can let your head release a little bit side to side. And just start to feel your breaths now. Coming in, going out. Not forcing, just accepting your breaths. And just gently, when your mind wanders off, which it always does, just gently come back to your breath, whatever helps you do that. If you're a person that is a number person, counting your breaths, inhaling 1, exhaling 2, inhaling 3, exhaling 4. If that helps you, or if you'd like to think a word or a mantra, so when you inhale, you think one word, and when you exhale, another, and you keep coming back to those 2 words or that mantra for yourself. But just give yourself, it's like a gift to have a few quiet minutes, allowing your body and your mind to benefit in whatever way they need by all you just did. Just allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. Gently, easily now. Let yourself feel your breaths coming in and going out more fully, more deeply again. Feeling the ground underneath you, supporting you. Letting yourself feel those deeper breaths bring you back into wanting to move again. Fingers and toes, hands and feet, let yourself start to lead with your extremities into moving. You might want to stretch everything out. You might want to bring your knees up and in. Just take your time. Let your body do what you need. You're welcome to stay on your back. You're welcome to roll onto either side. Letting yourself stay on your side if that helps you to make a little transition there in that fetal position. Just be mindful. So that when you feel ready to come up, it feels easy to make your way up to sitting however feels good to you today to sit. It might be crossing your legs. It might be stretching your legs out. You might need a blanket under you. Just let your eyes close if they opened on the way up, and enjoy lengthening upward through the top of your head. You might even want to let your head kind of move around a little bit and feel that ease of being open in your hips and your shoulders, space in your spine. And on your next exhale, bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Thursday, everybody.